For 10 years in a row, every single Ballon d'Or, the award given to the best footballer on the planet, went to the same two men, Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo. 10 years. Nobody else even came close. And right now, at the 2026 FIFA World Cup, both of those men are playing what is almost certainly the last World Cup of their careers. Not someday, not eventually, right now. And it's not just the two of them, an entire generation of players. The players who defined football for the last 20 years are running out of time at the same tournament, at the same moment. Once you see this World Cup that way, you can't watch it the same way again. This is Football Unpacked, and this is the story of the 2026 FIFA World Cup, the tournament that could mark the end of the greatest era football has ever seen. Go back to 2006. Ronaldo was 21, Messi was 18 and barely off the bench. That was the last World Cup that belonged to someone else. Because from 2010 onwards, every tournament was filtered through the same two names. Every group stage draw, every quarterfinal, every heartbreak, and every miracle. All of it measured against what Messi did, or what Ronaldo did. Football didn't just feature these two players. It organized itself around them. The rivalries people cared about, the records that mattered, the debates that ran for years without resolution. All of it built on the foundation of two men who arrived at roughly the same moment and refused to leave. 5 World Cups each, 2 decades of the game's biggest stage, and now 2026. Messi already has his World Cup. He won it in Qatar, in one of the greatest finals ever played, and for one brief moment, football felt complete. But Ronaldo is still chasing something, still here, still playing, still carrying something unresolved. This is almost certainly the last time both of them are at a World Cup, on the same stage, at the same time. And whether you've spent 20 years choosing sides or not, that matters. Because when they're gone, football loses something it cannot simply replace. But pull back for a moment, because the story is bigger than two players. Luka Modrić is 39 years old. He has spent his career making football look effortless, dismantling Brazil, dismantling Argentina, dragging Croatia to places no one believed they could reach. This is his 5th World Cup. Kevin De Bruyne, possibly the most technically complete midfielder of his generation. A player who gave Manchester City everything, who won everything there was to win at club level, and who has spent his international career searching for a stage that matched his talent. This is probably his last chance to find it. Neymar, the most gifted Brazilian of his era, a player whose career has been defined as much by absence as by brilliance. When fit, there has been almost no one better. This is the last real opportunity to settle the argument. And Harry Kane, the man who has broken every England goal-scoring record there, is to break. The man who has never lifted a trophy. This World Cup is the story he has been pointing towards his entire career. Every one of these players, every one of these stories, all of them at the same tournament, at the same time, at the end of the same road. That is not a coincidence. That is a generation. So what actually comes after this? Because here is the question that is easy to avoid and impossible to answer cleanly. What does a World Cup feel like without this generation in it? For a huge number of football fans alive right now, Messi and Ronaldo have always been there. They have been the reference point for everything. Every great goal, every great player, every conversation about what football is and what it should look like. That reference point is about to disappear, and the sport will keep going. It always does. But for a moment, just a moment, it will feel like standing in a room where the lights have changed. Everything is still there. It just looks different. This World Cup is that transition. Not the end of football, but the end of the version of football that an entire generation grew up watching. Which means the next question matters more than the last one, because the next era is already here. His name is Lamine Yamal. He is 18 years old. And at Euro 2024, in a semi-final against France, he scored a goal that players twice his age dream about. He didn't look nervous. He didn't look young. He looked like someone who had been waiting his entire life for exactly that moment. That is what the beginning of an era looks like. Max Dowman. An English talent so composed and so dangerous that Arsenal have been quietly building their future around him. A player who moves like the game slows down around him. Rio Ngumoha. Direct, explosive. The kind of player that serious football people talk about in careful, considered tones because they don't want to put pressure on someone this young. And then they watch him again, and they forget to be careful. Endrick at Real Madrid, Gavi, Pedri, Kobbie Mainoo. Players already shaping games at the highest level, still years from their peak. Here is what makes this World Cup genuinely historic. This is the tournament where two eras share the same pitch, where the generation that defined football for 20 years and the generation that will define it for the next 20 are in the same competition at the same time for possibly the only time. That handover only happens once. Every era ends. That is not a tragedy. That is just how football works. Pele's era ended. Maradona's era ended. Zidane walked off a World Cup final in the last act of his career, and the sport grieved, and then it moved forward. It always moves forward. This World Cup is the last time you watch Messi and Ronaldo at a World Cup. The last time this generation, this specific unrepeatable collection of players, all share the same tournament. Hold that, because those moments are never obvious until they've already passed. But don't just look back, because somewhere in this tournament right now, a teenager is about to do something that makes the world stop. A name that is still being written is about to write its first line. One era ends, another one begins. And that, right there, is why football never really loses anything. It just becomes something new. This is Football Unpacked, where we tell the stories behind the game that stay with you. If this one did, subscribe. There are more where this came from.